Very good afternoon.
Hello and welcome, my dear friends. This is Dr. Sujata Datta Hazarika, Senior Regional Director, IGNU Kolkata Regional Center, welcoming you all to participate in the periodic podcast organized by IGNU Kolkata Regional Center. I express my warmest greetings to all IGNU learners, esteemed members of IGNU fraternity from all over the nation, and all participants who have taken out their time from their busy schedule to join us in this podcast. The main objective of the podcast is to invite eminent achievers from different fields of society so that our learners and participants can be inspired and motivated in their unique life aspirations. It is my ardent request that these discussions be seen as unique life stories, exemplary biographies, personal opinions, and professional informations that are intended to benefit all members of society. Today, once again, we are back with one more special podcast on the occasion of the International Women's Day. Although womanhood and its unique feminine traits of compassion, nurturing, sacrifice, and motherhood should be celebrated every day, but on 8th March, we try to create a special space to uphold the values that femininity brings to our universe. Today, on this day, we tried to create a congregation of achievers who transcend gender and share their understanding of womanhood by emphasizing on education, physical fitness, security concerns, so that women can be helped to realize their highest potentials.
Celebration of International Women's Day is not just a concept which needs to be emphasized on one day. You all know that this is a day which we should be celebrating every day. But yes, we've chosen today so that we can specially emphasize and recall how women have contributed and what is the role that women play in the society, in the areas of nation building, in areas of community development, in areas of personal growth. We are going to sit here and reflect on the role that women played in our society today. Whenever we assemble to discuss role of women, it is always from a space of extreme responsibility, extreme privilege, and also a sense of duty, because not only do we need to represent the women who have been there before us, who are no more here today, those women who have suffered severe discriminations, who have suffered, their dreams were smothered, they have lived in a traditions of exploitation, those women who have sacrificed their wishes and desires so that we can be here where we are today. So we remember them very, very graciously, and also a feeling of duty towards number of women who are going to join us in the next generations, for whom we are going to be the pivotal role models who they can follow. So we come here with a sense of great responsibility that this entire constellation of men and women have gathered here today. They're responsible citizens, they're responsible professionals, they're responsible civil servants, and they are here today to enlighten us on how we can take these issues of women forward. Now, when we talk about men and women, especially in today's era, when we are talking about science through quantum physics is actually telling us about the borderlessness of the universe. There is no real difference between men and women, any particle over the other, any social category. We are talking about a borderless universe. So, to what extent will it be appropriate to talk about men, women, differences of any kind, differences of ethnicity, differences of language, differences of nationality and borders, when again and again, not only scientifically, but even through pragmatically, through, if you remember how COVID was, how the pandemic was, it had emphasized the borderlessness and the vulnerability of humanity. In such a situation, how are we going to address these differences of women and men? Do men suffer any less than women, or do women suffer more than men? These are some of the issues that we need to reflect on. Are we going to move towards building an universal society where it really doesn't matter where one is, where the superficial differences lay? The point is that we live in a universal society. We live in a world which is infinitely borderless. And I'm very, very grateful that all these esteemed guests have joined us here today as Kolkata Regional Center. And I'm privileged as a senior regional director from Kolkata Regional Center to have all of you here with us to participate in this celebration of womankind and also mankind as a whole. So we have here our special guest of honor, Madam Suman Bala Sahu. She's an IPS West Bengal cadre. She superannuated in 2023 and as the DGP Telecommunication West Bengal. An amazing individual as I have known her, and also an exceptional professional and a public servant who I think Government of India is proud, and all of us are as we follow your footsteps, ma'am. She was in the Calcutta Police, she was in CID, IB, EB, Police Directorate, Hooghly, Howrah, South and North 24 Parganas, Police Headquarters, and on Central Deputation to CBI as Joint Director and Head of Zone Kolkata. She was awarded the Indian Police Medal in 2003 and President Police Medal in 2011. She was in the King's College, UK Shivning Gurukul Fellowship in 2014. Ma'am, we are so happy that you could join here with us, not just as a woman, but you are a symbol of the universalism that I was wanting to address here. So can you please address us?
Thank you so much.
Can you please address this gathering? As you know that we are here sitting and we are representing a university which has an amazing gross enrollment ratio and admitted students. So all of the students, we can outreach this program to most of the students. This time for the convocation, we have given certificates to more than 35 lakh students. And as one of you, as you are also one of the examples that IGNOU should be feeling so proud of, because you are also one of our esteemed alumni from this university. Thank you, ma'am. I will just leave it to you, and I'd like to request you to address two significant questions that we should discuss today. One is, how does the category of women appear to you today? And secondly, some practical advice that women today needs to talk about when we see them, in terms of empowering them through education, whether they need to be strong and healthy. Is health just physical, or does it also need to be empowered through mental health? So, ma'am, I will lay on the floor to you now.
Thank you so much, Sujata. It's so nice of you to remember me and invite me for this podcast. I'm sorry I could not be physically present with you in the regional center, Kolkata. I had some issues, so wanted to do it from home only. And after retirement, I think this is the first kind of official thing for me. In last more than 1 year, I am at home only, but otherwise very actively doing a lot of things. So it's very important topic you have today regarding women's safety, their physical fitness, and how to empower them. I think education is the number one, and this is one particular aspect of life. If we want to empower anyone, be a man or a woman or anyone, education is the ultimate, I should say that, because people who have come from very poor background or from very underprivileged background also, if you can support them and give them good education exposure, then it is, they can choose whatever they want to do. If they are not getting education, then they can hardly do anything in the sense, like, especially for women in India. Still, I think so much is being done already. All the state government, central government, and so many. In fact, education is also, right to education is also fundamental right now. So a lot of things have been done by the government, by families also. Now, all over India, people are very aware. Nobody wants to have more than one or two kids, because whenever you ask them, oh, we can't afford education, we have to educate them, we have to give them good, life. So education is also inclusive of your good nutrition, physical exercise, and all other exposures in games, sports, and all. So, to my mind, only education is not sufficient. Every woman or girl, they have to, in fact, think very clearly that they have to keep themselves mentally and physically, emotionally very fit. And nobody will give you in charity or something. You cannot just like kind of uh, expect that society will be giving you anything in hand. When we were also kids, like when I joined IPS, I am our till our batch only 25 ladies had joined IPS. In every batch there used to be one or two, three. In our batch we had eight, very big number, but four of them they left for other services. Finally, we were only four. In the 120 batch, we were only four ladies. So you can imagine, like, they divided the entire group into 60 each, because they could not handle such big batches. Because before that, 40, 50, 60 IPS officers used to be there. And Hyderabad was still very new, because 1976 they shifted from Mount Abu, our National Police Academy, to Hyderabad, and we are 87 batch. So it was hardly 10 years, and still it was evolving, it was developing. So they had two 60 batch, and I was the only one in my batch, like out of the other two, three ladies they left. So practically, you can say that I did my training alone only in that sense, because we used to meet during lunchtime, dinner time, and all. But training time, it was only me with all men. And then you did not have any choice to ask for any kind of relaxation or any kind of exemption from anyone. Because once you join this thing, you are always under the scanner. 36 and a half years I have worked, and I still feel that you, as a woman, wherever you go, whatever you do, you are always being judged by the society, by your family, by your officers, subordinates, seniors, everywhere. So women have to do in all fields of life, they have to do much more work. I think I should say double or triple the work as men are doing. And that is reality of life. And we can't cry over that. We can't fight over that, because when we joined service, as I said, I was the only one in West Bengal for almost 10 years. The Menti came after 10 years of my service. So I was the only one wherever I used to go, and I was in uniform. They have never seen any lady in uniform. Now you can see so many women are in uniform. So many in West Bengal itself, there are more than 25 lady IPS officers. So that time, all over India, we had only 25. So most of my batchmates, they were the first lady officers in their respective states. Like my batchmate was the first lady officer in Kerala, another was in Hyderabad, another was in Madhya Pradesh, I was in Bengal. So, this sometimes I feel that uh, like a woman has to start kind of with much more handicap than the men, because for men nobody is asking them whether they are there or not there. I could not miss a single meeting, I could not miss a single dinner, IPS dinner or any official thing, because the moment like they'll say, अरे सुमन कहाँ है, मतलब वो तो दिख जाएगी ना, she is the only one. So you have to be always physically present in everything. And then you are married, you have children, and you are alone here. Like, you people have your family backup, your in-laws, your parents, your sisters, brothers, everybody is there. But when we come from, I came from Delhi, did not know language. Ba of Bengali was not known. So I was posted in first for the probation time in Hubli district. So everyone was speaking only in Bengali. They don't speak Hindi or English or something. And then where I was staying in a guest house, there were some small kids. They had, those those small books. So I used to call them and learn. In fact, I learned from a teacher also properly. And then from their pictures, I used to tell you, okay, this is the vegetable I want. This is the fruit I want, because how to communicate with them. So we had to start our life from scratch. And coming from that, I'm Punjabi by birth, here Bengali, married to Udia. So many cultural, you know so many things you have to keep on adjusting, keep on. That is why women are called Sakshat Durga, 10 हाथों वाले हैं. क्यों है? Because 10 hands, because it is a reality, it is a fact that God has given us some extra powers, and we can really balance so many things at a time: work, life, society, social commitments. Your in-laws are there, your family is there, your children are there, your office also is so much pressure, and husband, and everything is going on at the same time. And I feel that first 10 years of service are the most difficult one for us, because you have to adjust to a new state, to new language, to new people, then new job profile, because probation time is totally different than the actual real field when you are coming here and working. Then you get married, you have children, so everything is, and you are also in the field, and you are being judged, because oh, lady officer, usko ye posting देंगे कि नहीं देंगे, अच्छा, oh, she can't do it because she has small children, oh, she cannot be given this, so she cannot be given that. So every time you have to go, keep on fighting, and like working 24 minutes, 20 hours a day, you have to work to say that yes, I am there. I did not come here with some kind of reservation or charity or something. I have come on my own merit, and I am doing double the work you men are doing. Still, you are judging me. And that judgment goes on and on and on for 36 years. So we got so used to it, and it's okay. Like, you have to take it in your stride. How long you can keep on fighting with everyone? So better to, you know, kind of give your best. Do not take it to heart, and nobody will be, if you keep on thinking that, oh, so much injustice has been done. Yes, it has been done, but what can I do? I have to give my best, I have to do my best. And by the side also, I have to take care of my health. That is extremely important. Physical activity was extremely important in my life, and I kept on doing. I'm 61 plus, so I'm playing golf, I am playing tennis, swimming, gym, walk. In fact, I started running marathons when I turned 50, and I have done at least 6, 7 half marathons, 25-kilometer Tata Steel also I did 3 times. So there is no age kind of thing. If we say, oh, अभी तो 50 साल हो गया, 55-60 साल हो गया, अभी कैसे करेंगे, अभी तो नहीं हो सकता है. You can do whatever you want to do. You must keep yourself absolutely in good physical, mental, and emotional condition. So this is my message to young students, and keep on learning also, because I felt that, okay, I wanted to do PhD. In fact, I was going in that direction only. I got my UGC and CSR, both the scholarships, and I took UGC. So I was doing MSc for second year when I appeared for the first time, because it was my father's dream. In fact, he wanted, okay, you once at least you should appear. Okay. Like, obedient children, we never used to disobey our parents. Parents said कि ये करना है, ये subject लेना तो वही लेना है, ये पढ़ना है तो वही पढ़ना है. Like, we never used to argue with them. Like nowadays, you can't tell your children do this, do that, and all. So first attempt I got prelims, mains, interview was not very good. So second attempt I was doing my MPhil and going in that PhD direction. So MPhil, that second attempt I got the IPS and also got forest service. And so I had that very strong thing in my mind that I could not do my PhD. So wanted to do PhD. Once I enrolled in NUJS also, but then they changed the rules. Could not do PhD, though did a lot of work. Then I did. I said, okay, let me keep on studying something side by side. So did human rights PG diploma course, then counseling. Then I was very privileged, I should say, that I could do MA psychology from IGNOU Regional Center. I want to do PhD, but unfortunately, I have to go to Delhi to do that.
No,
Regional center in
you can
Calcutta, you don't have.
from
Anyway,
Delhi.
I'm waiting for that. Whenever you decide to do PhD, I'll do here. So
No
now
worry, madam. We will give you student service. You do it from Delhi. There is no problem. We will.
but I have to go and stay there. That is the
Oh,
problem.
that's for some
Yeah,
time.
yeah, yeah. So
Course.
I started doing LLB now because I thought that I should keep on studying or at least mind should be active, along with physical things. So thank you so much. I think I have taken too much time. So you have so many panelists.
Yeah. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you. Your being here is an inspiration, and whatever you said is again an inspiration. And today, as you can see, we are a number of us out here because this is a panel discussion, almost like a chit chat and a talking where we're going to just like an adda, as they say in Bengal. But then an enlightening adda which will probably help out more people in that. Ma'am, thank you so much for that, and I will now move on to another very significant and very, very achievement oriented individual who is here with us. And Dr. Samita Bandopadhyay. She's a public health specialist and a deputy chief medical officer of health in the government of West Bengal. She's posted in the district maternal and child health officer in the district of 24 Parganas, a former short service commission SSC officer in the Indian Army Medical Corps. She served during the peak insurgency in Northeast India. As the only lady officer in the region, she has earned the Samannaya Seva Medal for her distinguished service. Her contribution to public health and hospital services have been recognized with the Swasthya Samman Award from the state government and Kayakalp Award from the Ministry of Health, Government of India. She's a passionate poet. That is another thing. I don't know. That is what I was discussing, to bring together the whole concept of being a major and as well as becoming a poetess yourself. That was so very interesting for us. Writing now under the pen name of Mohul Oroni. Did I pronounce it correctly? Mohul Oroni. She has recently accessed international bilingual poetry writing. Welcome to Kolkata Regional Center's podcast. And ma'am, we are so happy that you are here with us, and you're going to be so you are going to inspire so many of us today. I would like my question to you. There's so many more things we'd like to discuss with you, but because of paucity of time, there's one significant question that I have with you. If you were asked to give 3 points for women who you think could follow you, who would take you as an ideal type, what were the 3 points that you would share from your life?
Primarily, thank you, Sujata. I'm honored to be among the coveted guests today. Well, I don't go by the thought that I could be an idol for anybody, but let's be across the table. If somebody asks me, what could be the 3 points you say, as you said? I'd first say, primarily be an individual. Accept it. Don't ask for privileges of any kind in the society or elsewhere as a female, like a lady's seat. Be an individual. Believe in yourself. Enjoy your womanhood. Take pride in your womanhood. Stick to your values. Hold your head high and educate yourself. The number one point of empowerment, the number one crux of empowerment lies in education. Be economically independent. Probably these are the 3 points I'd suggest,
Yes,
primarily.
absolutely. They are so very pertinent. And so if there's another question I'd like to ask you, especially because of the role that you've played in the Indian Army, and what kind of physical advice, what kind of physical fitness advice would you give to the ladies? Or, in general, for anybody who wants to live a active life?
Okay. What I'd suggest, being a doctor also, I'll tell us, if do you have time?
Yes,
I'll tell us
yes,
a
of
small
course.
little experience of mine. That was a time when insurgency was at peak in the northeast, when I was posted as a captain out there. And there was a good stint when whole of northeast in the 3 corps, I was the only lady officer. Families were then not allowed to come because of insurgency, and we had male nurses around. Even wives of officers were not allowed, as there was a question of safety. So initially, when I got inducted, I was inducted to a hospital at a place called Limakong, and subsequently I was posted as a OC in an advanced dressing station at a place called Senapati, which was very disturbed. And just few days back, since I got posted, one of the intelligence officer was shot in the marketplace directly by the insurgents. So here I was placed at the head of around 20 25 medical staffs to manage my as a head of the unit. And since we were too young to be called COs at that stage, below major, so we were called OCs, right? So what happened is, there was a RR battalion somewhere nearby. There was a shootout at some post. There was there was interchange of firing with the insurgents, and one of our guys was injured out there. Now we were located at the hilltop of Senapati, and we had to cross in Manipuri. They used to call the mountains were called Tapau. So there was two Naga Tapau and Kuki Tapau, according to the residents out there. We had to cross two such hills and then access that army post where this guy was wounded. So in such areas, field areas, we used to have small little pitus with basic. The doctor out here will know. There were these drip bottles, etc., etc., and emergency kit sort of, which one has to carry and give the initial management before the person is evacuated from there. So I still remember his name. I had a nursing assistant called Sarkar, who was actually an SMS. So he kind of felt little extra familiar, probably because of my being a bong. So he told me initially, ki, Madam, you need not go, being a lady. You have to cross two hills, and you have to walk 2 hills. And don't imagine me then looking at me now, right? Physically. So so it's like, you got to cross 2 hills and all. I'll take the pitu and I'll go and I'll get it done and I'll bring the guy. Immediately it struck, because the person, the OC before me was a man out there. So first thing that struck me was, if I don't go today, I have to take it out from their mind that I am a woman, first thing, because I'm commanding them. So if I don't go today, I had it. They'll never forget that. So what I said, ki Sarkar, nothing doing, come along with me. We did not have any roads. I still remember those bushes and, just, literally climbing up and down and among, some small little puddles here and there. And we crossed both. We reached there. We managed the case, came back, and Sarkar did not have another word. And when I got to the mess,
He thought this was a powerful
he
woman,
thought, by the time he forgot that I was a woman, right? I wanted him to forget that. So when we got into the officers' mess, I still remember him, General Gill. He was the commandant of 3 Corps at that point of time. He had come for a lunch or brunch, whatever, with our brigade commander. So like, we met. Doc, I heard you went on an evacuation. I said, yes sir. कैसा रहा यार? I said, ठीक रहा sir. Yeah, Doc, you're a Bengali? I said, I'm 100% Bengali, sir. So that is how it started. I suddenly remember that.
Exactly.
So it doesn't, I mean, as we doctors know, the definition of health starts from both, rather encompasses both physical, mental, and social well being. So it starts from your mind, right? First is the mindset, and then definitely you have to have the, you have to build yourself accordingly so you are physically fit. Let me tell you, this starts from the, I'm not talking about us, whom I think is the privileged class of women. I'm talking about those women right now in public health we encounter every day. In fact, today I'm coming from a rural area right now after implementing a national program. So you come from those families. There are girls who come from those families who are still literally discriminated because of being a girl child. They're not given nutrition adequately. They are there. Let's not close our eyes and say they don't exist. They do. They do. I have seen this paradox even in well-to-do families. In certain, I won't stamp any area of India, but I have seen even in my apartment. I have found it. So this subtle discrimination is there. There are children. If you look at the statistics during COVID, we will see there were so many girls dropouts from school who were just married off because they were mouths to be fed in the family. And yes, during COVID.
Today,
Mhm.
this was one of our coordinators who came and met me today, and he was telling that one of the things that happened because of low enrollment of women in Arambagh
Mm.
is because during COVID the girls were married off.
Yeah, they
So
were.
then they were taken out of the education.
Exactly.
What you just said,
Yes.
it's true.
Yeah, it's
I just came to know about that today. I think that is so important what you have pointed out.
Yeah.
I think, ma'am, what you have said is so important that women as such try to break away from the stereotypes which are made.
Right.
Women are weak, women cannot do this. So consciously, once we make up our mind that, okay, I may be weak, but I have a milestone to follow so that
Exactly.
nobody else can point out. And that happens, as you said, in our mind. We
Yes.
create that mindset in our mind.
One thing I'd
Yes.
like to add, just 2 points. One is that it's not weak. That's how we are made. Women are not weak, I'd rather say, because women who go through the worst kind of pain called labor pain and they sustain it well again and again, and they manage at multitasking. They are the lead roles. So we are not weak. We are made to feel weak, which we should get over by with boosting our physical strength also right from childhood, and getting over the stigmas regarding things like menstruation and things like that, which is already on. Society is changing. And finally, I'd say, get out of that aura of being being worshipped as a mother, as taking over everything in the family. You have to break out of that aura. That is an aura that our generation after generation has created, that it is the role of the woman in the family who should, both of them work and come back, and she's the one who will make the tea. Yes. And we started taking a kind of a gratification in that well, we are the people, the one who, Dashabhuja, this, that, and sacrifice yourself for the family. That has got a kind of the intoxication. This kind of an image has got an intoxication which you have to learn to break. It's not about, again, as I said in the beginning, it's not about man or woman. Be an individual first. If you can, even the man can.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So much.
Thank you.
So we now come here. We have another esteemed woman out here, Dr. Mandira Mukherjee. She has been coordinating our B.Ed and our M.Ed programs in St. Xavier's College for IGNOU for 41 years, ma'am.
I served at St. Xavier's
As
faculty.
as a faculty also, yes, because you were definitely a faculty and you took up this additional responsibility
Yes,
of looking after IGNOU's vast program. And I may say out here, At that point of time, the B.Ed and the M.Ed programs were one of our plum programs, which used to have an enrollment which was limitless. That right?
My center was the first center, ma'am.
Yes.
For BA.
B.Ed.
Because previously it was held here.
Yes.
In Bikash Bhavan.
Yes.
Then my center became the first center after college got NCT recognition.
Right. So, we are so happy to have her here with us because she understands the not only education system as a whole, she's an educationist herself, and but she also understands the ODL, the open and distance learning, the flexibility that we all we harp today as one of the most important ingredients of modern age education, flexibility. So, ma'am is here with us. She was an associate professor at St. Xavier's College Department of Education, and she has been an academic counselor for the postgraduate diploma in higher education, and besides that, she has been visiting faculty in a number of colleges. We're very happy to have you here with us, ma'am. Can you reflect a little on the significance, being an education, significance of education in a woman's life? That education, of course, we have broken up into, talking about physical fitness, and because that is also education. Physical education is also a very important education. But besides that, why is it, I think I should not say why is education important, because it is a very foolish question. How do you think education can take a woman forward? What are the ways? So if you can briefly touch on those points, how a woman can move ahead.
I think it's a very important question, as ma'am has asked me to give an answer. So what I felt I have seen in my studies, when I have studied education as a subject, I have seen that it has been told by many educators of the world, including our Indian educators, that education is the all-round development of a person. So when I say all-round development, it includes many aspects like physical, mental, psychological, spiritual. So what I feel that education, I mean, if we have a look at the history of education, we can see that this type of feeling was there among people when we were in the ancient period, or when we were in the medieval period a bit, and then when we came to modern period, actually day by day society was having a change, and that's why due to the efforts of some people, some elites or some reformers, we find that education was bringing some changes in the minds of Indian ladies or girls, whatever we want to say. And I can say that education brings changes because it can bring change from, it's a change of mindset. It has to be a change of mindset. If it is not, then in that case I think education will remain incomplete. And as other eminent speakers have already said, that it's a, I mean, as ma'am has already pointed out, that I mean, this question of intoxication, which ma'am has already pointed out, I think that feeling of intoxicating people has to be removed from education, and especially for ladies. And at the same time, there was a time when we all know that ladies were confined within the four walls of their family, or house. So in that case, that feeling has to be changed. And at the same time, day by day, we have seen efforts are being there, so that we can change the mindset of the people. Mental alertness is very important for that. And at the same time, it's a question of having a feeling of self sufficiency, that I have to be economically independent. I need not have to depend on others. That is a very important question right now. And day by day, what is happening, what I can see, what I have read, and what I have studied, that day by day this feeling is becoming very important to ladies, especially to girl students, that I am studying not for the reason of achieving some degrees, but I have to achieve the goal in life. What is that goal? A goal means I have to be self independent. So that is a very important point. Education is changing our mindset. And at the same time, I can say right now we have got many avenues in life. And I mean, if we have a look at the previous past times, even when the avenues were limited in number, even at that time we can take the examples of some eminent lady personalities who have shown the way that how we can achieve this highest goal in life, that is to be free from to be free from this polluted system, polluted social society, and to have our to be a self sufficient person. So that is one point. And at the same time, our eminent speakers have also said that in most cases for ladies, family becomes the the prime question. So in that case, yes, family has to be there. We can't we can't neglect our family, but it is equally true for a man. Why only men? Why only women? So what I feel that yes, the ladies are taking into consideration their family commitments, no doubt, but at the same time they are also having a vision in life. They are developed. I mean, education is becoming a mission also for them. So that I have observed and that I have studied. And at the same time, now at present we find that this differentiation between men and women day by day is becoming less. Of course, areas are there where we I mean situation is still very depressing, but even then, so nowadays we are giving importance to our third gender also. So in that case, we have to consider ladies from the point, or men, or whoever it may be, from the point of view that he or she is a human being. So this humanity is very important in education, and day by day it is taking a better shape. Of course, India is a vast country. I'm talking in from the perspective of India. It's a vast country, geographically vast, economically not up to the mark. At the same time, overpopulation is there. So it's a huge task, no doubt. But at the same time, we have to, mental alertness is very important, and it has to it should start from our very first stage of life. This feeling has to be injected to children that look, you have to develop yourself independently, whether you are a girl or a boy, that doesn't matter. So that is very important. And as ma'am has already raised this question, that our family setup, though we are having education, so many degrees, things like that, but there are certain points where till now we are unchanged. We can't we have we are about we follow our very nasty rituals in certain cases. Very our many nasty rituals are there in a family. When I was discussing with ma'am Atri ma'am also, that in a family when two girls are born, it's a question, oh, again a girl. So but when if two boys are born, there is no question.
We are talking about it even today.
Yes,
We are talking
yes. That's why the root has to be changed. So we have to think in such a way so that we prepare our mindset first. If I can prepare myself mentally, then I can put myself as a social person. So that's why I think that education is bringing changes, no doubt, but we have got lots of work to do.
Thank you so much, ma'am. If I may just reinterpret what ma'am you just said, basically we are talking about education as, again we have to bring Shami Vivekanandan to it.
Right.
He said it is ultimately the realization of the divinity, which I again and again keep thinking, and it is so correct.
Right.
So when you educate whether it is a woman or a man, we are basically educating so that the person can reach the ultimate potential of an individual. So what is the potential of the woman? The woman realizes with education that she is not dependent on anyone. She may not go for a job, that is different, but she becomes self-confident. She becomes a nurturer so that she can look after somebody else. And when she becomes self-confident, she realizes she doesn't need to be looking for a job, but she can actually be the giver of a job. So here we come and become an entrepreneur out there. So many women today with a little bit of skill, making achar, making things, these are all traditional skills, but that itself, and where do you think that confidence comes from? That confidence that they can be the nurturer, they can start taking up a profession of their own where they will become nurturer themselves. Thank you so much, ma'am. So now, again, another extremely commendable and a young professional here with us, medical professional here with us, Dr. Shantanu Sengupta. Dr. Sengupta, are you there? Yes, I can see you. Yes. So, Dr. Shantanu Sengupta is an MD from SSKM Hospital, West Bengal, Kolkata. She holds a fellowship in minimal access surgery. She is a fellow in Indian Academy of Obstetrician and Gynecology. Yes, gynecology. Diploma in cosmetic gynecology from American Aesthetics Association. Bharat Gaurav Shri Samman Awardee 2021 from Parliament of India and Human Rights. Rashtriya Chikitsa Bhushan Samman 2022. She is Mrs. Kolkata 2019. Mrs. West Bengal 2022. Dr. Shantanu, a warm welcome to IGNOU Kolkata Regional Center. Whenever I met Shantanu, and I used to be always amazed at the kind of achievements that for a young person, that she has achieved so far. She's an amazing human being. I've met her so many times, and I always felt she's such an example of young India, achieving in so many areas, not only in medicine, because she has a big heart, and a number of people I know who go to her for just meeting her and getting their medical treatments done, and she's welcoming her in a place like SSKM. She's always available. Shantanu, we are so happy that you are here, and I would like to open the floor for you, because I know that on a personal note also you are a winner. You have overcome unsurmountable obstacles in your personal life. You are a mother of an adorable daughter, and you have struggled in your life so much. I would like you to bring your success story and your struggles together and become this inspiration for all of us who are here, to see how an Indian woman can achieve milestones, and which are almost not possible to be reiterated. So Shantanu, thank you so much for being here, and please share your experiences, your success and your obstacles.
A very warm good afternoon to all of you and to all the people over there. I'm really honored and blessed to be a part of this podcast. So, let me tell you one thing. If we even Google woman empowerment, we'll see in the Google that is the women should have the right to make their own choices and should live their life independently. Now, this is a very good thing that now, all the platforms, podcasts, and everywhere it is coming up with women empowerment. So we are really blessed to share our stories, success stories, our depressive stories, so that we motivate and we take that thing out of ourselves. But have you ever thought that why no such program is there like men empowerment? So now tell me, like, I'll tell you a short story about my experiences. Like whenever I've seen coming like 2-3 patients to me, like in a month or in a week, it's very sad actually. They come up to me and say that, Madam, this time it will be a girl child or it will be a boy child, because our like family, like my mother-in-law, who is like a girl or a daughter of somebody or a wife of somebody, a girl himself, says that, like, I want a boy. Like, so called, we have that phrase that like পরিবারে দীপ জ্বলবে বা শঙ্খ বাজিয়ে ছেলে আনবো. So these are all the things that is still there in a society. So we don't have any platforms like men empowerment, but it's very sad that we have these things as well as women empowerment. So first, I think the woman empowerment, the first motto is to educate a woman. That is the prime thing that has to be done, because whenever a woman is given education, whenever a woman is educated, she will have the freedom of speech, she will have the sense of wisdom, what to speak, when to speak, and how to deal with her life, and that will make him financially and even socially stable. So that is very important. Now coming to my story, as I'll share a short story. I have done my MBBS, I have done my MD. So I was very happy with my degrees. I have studied my life and I wanted to achieve my dreams. So I got married and it was a love marriage only. But somehow it was a very abusive marriage. When I started staying, I was physically abused and I was very depressed, and mentally I was said that I don't look good because I put on kilograms of weight after childbirth. So it was a mental and a physical trauma for me. So I ended up the marriage after 11 years of getting married. So it was really sad on my part. And then after that, when I was fighting for a contest divorce because he was not giving me divorce, my child, who was 6 years at that time, got burn injury. So she was having second burn injury, like her abdomen and chest was burned. She has undergone 8 plastic surgeries, was admitted in Bellevue Hospital. She was with A negative blood during the COVID time. That time the blood was not available, but since by God grace I was doctor and I was assistant professor in SSKM, so I got help of my colleagues and the blood banks and the director of SSKM, as well as all the blood banks and Lions blood bank. I'll be thankful to them. So I got 6 units of blood. She underwent a regular of 8 surgeries in the past 1.5 months. So this is the struggle life. But what I could deal with it is like, I myself being a doctor, still I went for a counseling myself. See, we have to come up with that. It's not a hush hush that, if we get cold or if we catch cold, we go to a doctor. So why not, if we get depressed, we should go to a doctor? That is a very myth that in our society, that if you go to a psychiatrist or if you go to a mental doctor, some problem is there in her head. Come on, it's not problem in her head. She's perfectly all right with her brain cells and brain and spinal cord and everything. So that myth should be broken, that if you are not feeling well mentally, it's not about only physically. You should go to a counselor. Even I do counseling sessions and I carried on with my duties. I carried on being, because I am I have to carry on with the home household works also. So everything I have to take carrying over. But the main important thing is I was financially stable. So that is very important in today's age for a woman to be financially stable and to be educated. And education doesn't mean that you have to read tons of books of law or tons of books of medical. You have to be morally educated also. That is very much important, that you have to be, there should be moral education, and that should be started at the beginning, whether it's a male child or whether it's a female child. That moral education has to be started from the beginning onwards. So these are the very important things that is needed for a woman to empower each other, and specifically of all the girls also, that whenever there is you have to fix each other crowns. So whenever the crown is not there, you have to fix each other crowns, and you can't say to the other person that your crown is crooked. Instead of that, you have to fix each other crowns, and you have to help yourselves and help others. Then only we can rise up and we can pull up our socks and we can live in the society well with our head held high. So that is all I could say about my story from my side. And I'll always say that, we have to stand by each other's side, educate ourselves, not only bookish knowledge or like kitabo knowledge. We have to educate ourselves morally, and we have to help each other. That is very much important.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nandini. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your question, and thank you for sharing your own personal experiences, because I think this is also an age where it is no longer possible for us to remain keep our stories hidden and somehow
Absolutely.
make a kind of an, as ma'am just said, as an hallucination and say everything is all right and not work on it. But this is a time to come up and share stories and make these sharings
Because it's a cyclical thing. Whenever you are giving into a wrong thing, that will keep on repeating yourself.
keep on.
So you get yourself accustomed to that, and you think, okay, fine, this is the normal, and I'll keep on compromising. And like whoever your girl child or your female child or your male child is at home, they will see that only. Because whatever you say, that creates lesser impact, and whatever they see, that creates much more impact. So it has to be started at home for everybody.
Absolutely. You're so correct. Yes. And, somehow we keep on continuing the same story again and again for generations. That has happened. And even men start becoming complicit in the thing. This is the way women behave. This is either the woman is cranky and, angry, or the woman is quiet and docile. So these stereotypes that get created, and even men become a victim of it because they also start thinking that this is how it should be. So thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
being here with us. And we I hope our podcast, and through our podcast we'll be reaching out to different to all the learners and all the fraternity of IGNOU through this. And that brings us now to is this something? Here, okay, right. So I think we would now, since I said we would now have a gentleman join us, and as I always feel that women's empowerment would have remained a myth unless few good men supported us as our fathers, as our husbands, as our sons, as our colleagues. So few good men empower women, support them, and then the woman becomes unbeatable, because it is always a camaraderie, it is always a collaboration that life runs. So in a universe also, men and women are always part of the two halves, so we join together. And so here, in my situation, I can say that in my work situation, I have three fantastic gentlemen, my colleagues and friends who are so supportive, and we have gone in our academic journey together, and with the support of these three gentlemen who are here with us, highly academic and highly achievement oriented. They have supported me at every step. So I'm very, very happy that today I got an opportunity to celebrate the men in my office. And so here I will start. I think let us have one gentleman represent us. So we have here with us Dr. Ajay Behra, Assistant Regional Director, and Dr. Shantanu Mukherjee, Assistant Regional Director, who is out here. And we have also Mr. Sandeep Aklawat, our Assistant Registrar. And I will start with Dr. Ajay Behra first. Dr. Ajay Behra is an eminent academician himself in his own right. He has obtained his master's degree and PhD in education from Punjab University, Chandigarh. He's a B.Ed from Jamia Millia. And of course, he has qualified UGC NET. He also has a degree in psychology and MBA in HR during his services in IGNOU. It is, again, his commitment to IGNOU's value of continuous learning. So he has two PhD scholars. He is currently posted in Kolkata Regional Center as an Assistant Regional Director, and he is committed in the mandate for IGNOU to democratize education, to reaching the unreached, as we all together are in this mandate for IGNOU. Dr. Behra, 10 minutes of your time.
Thank you, madam, for inviting us to join on this International Women's Day. Being a man and being the father of 2 sons, I can say you one thing. कई बार हम बोला है कि 2 लड़कियां या 2 बेटियां बहुत सुखी, 1 बेटी 1 बेटा आधा सुखी, 1 बेटा कम दुखी, 2 बेटे बहुत दुखी. एंड दिस इज अ फैक्ट. हम लोग कोशिश करते हैं, देखते हैं कि बुढ़ापा में हमारा बच्चा जो है हमें पिंडदान करेगा. दैट इज द मेन मिथ इन आवर इंडियन सोसाइटी, जिसके वजह से पुत्र की चाहत में पता नहीं क्या क्या होता है. व्हेन आई वाज इन क्लास 7, आई स्टिल रिमेंबर कि मैं छोटे छोटे बातों में रोता था ताकि मुझे मिल जाए. दैट वाज माई डिफेंस मैकेनिज्म कि मुझे ये रोऊंगा तो मुझे ये मिल जाता. हमारे टीचर होते थे, कहा करते थे क्या लड़कियों की तरह रोते हो. तो मुझे समझ में आया कुछ कि मुझे इंसल्ट हो रही है. बाद में जब पढ़े लिखे तब यूनिवर्सिटी में ज्वाइन किया तो मुझे समझ में आया उस टाइम के जो टीचर बोलते थे मुझे नहीं, दैट इज एन डायरेक्ट इंसल्ट टू द गर्ल. लड़कियां रोती है, ये मतलब ये प्रूव्ड हो गया. तो जबकि ऐसा नहीं है. इसी धरती में बहुत सारे बेटियां पैदा हुए हैं जो बहुत कुछ किया है, और बहुत सारे ऐसे लड़के पैदा हुए ऐसे ही मर गए, कुछ हुआ ही नहीं उनसे. तो इसलिए लड़की और लड़के के बीच में ज़्यादा कुछ ऐसे है ही नहीं. और आज के डेट में बच्चे तो बोलते भी हैं कि हम सुने हैं, डायरेक्ट बच्चों से सुने हैं कि लड़की तब शादी करना चाहिए जब या तो उसका डिवोर्स और विडो बन जाए तो अपने आप अपने पैरों में खड़े हो सके. तो दिस इज ए वेरी वेरी इम्पोर्टेंट कॉन्सेप्ट एमर्जिंग इन द यंग जनरेशन कि हमें सेल्फ डिपेंडेंट होना ज़रूरी है. किसी के ऊपर डिपेंडेंट नहीं होना है, अपने ऊपर ही डिपेंडेंट होना है. तो इसलिए जहाँ तक बात आती है कि इंटरनेशनल वुमेन्स डे या वुमेन्स डे, इट शुड बी ऑब्जर्व्ड एवरी डे, नॉट by gathering so many people, rather it should be a concept in our mind. घर में बहुत सारे प्रॉब्लम्स होती है, हस्बैंड वाइफ के बीच में झगड़ा होता है, हम अपने पेरेंट्स को भी देखते हैं कुछ ना कुछ हमारे सामने बच्चों के सामने करते हैं, हम भी कई बार जो है जाने अनजाने में बच्चों के सामने करते हैं. तो जब ये सारी चीज़ें होती है तब हमें लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं डोमिनेंस जो है मेल डोमिनेंट हो जाता है कि वाइफ है तो वाइफ के ऊपर, मदर है तो पापा जी करते हैं, बच्ची है तो फिर ऐसे ही हो जाता है कि अल्टीमेटली एट द एंड हम देखते हैं कि जो बच्चियां हैं वो कहीं ना कहीं डोमिनेंट होते हैं. एक चीज़ और है, ये जो डाउरी सिस्टम है ये और एक कारण है डोमिनेंट, मतलब एक वुमेन डोमिनेशन का एक कारण है. तो ये सारी चीज़ों को एजुकेशन के माध्यम से ही हो सकता है कि हम इराडिकेट करेंगे. अभी एक जो और चीज़ है, पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं बच्चों को पढ़ाना इसीलिए था कि एक अच्छा लड़का मिल जाए शादी के लिए. मेजर फंडा ये है जिसके कारण जो है लड़कियों को पढ़ने ही नहीं देते हैं या खुद अपने पैरों पर खड़ा होने के लिए मौका ही नहीं मिलता है. तो इस तरह की सिचुएशन से अगर हम बाहर आना है तो हमें यही करना पड़ेगा कि सोसाइटी में एजुकेशन का जो रोल है उसको एनहांस करना पड़ेगा. देन ओनली वी कैन थिंक अबाउट द इमांसिपेशन, फ्रीडम एंड डिपेंडेंस ऑफ द वुमेन. अदरवाइज बहुत सारे कठिनाई हैं. आप देखते हैं अभी जो हुआ है आरजी कौर में, अभी तक उसका कुछ 6 महीने ऑलमोस्ट 1 साल होने को है ना. तो इस तरह की घटना तो ये एक तो सामने आ गया. ऐसे घटने बहुत सारे जो है, बहुत सारे पॉइंट में, बहुत सारे सिचुएशन में होता है. वर्क प्लेस में फीमेल हरासमेंट जो है रोज अखबार में आता है. ऐसे क्यों आता है? क्योंकि ये एक माइंडसेट है, माइंडसेट फॉर द नॉट सुपेरियरिटी रादर इन्फीरियरिटी, क्योंकि अपने पोजीशन जब डगमगाता है तब हम दूसरों के ऊपर जो थोप देते हैं, दैट इज द मेन रीजन। तो इन सारे चीज़ों को हम एजुकेशन या शिक्षा के माध्यम से दूर कर पाएंगे, यही मेरा ये है। बट इसीलिए हमें करिकुलम को चेंज करना बहुत ज़रूरी है। जब तक करिकुलम चेंज नहीं होगा तब तक हम थियोरिटिकली बहुत कुछ करेंगे, प्रैक्टिकली कुछ भी नहीं हो पाएगा। थैंक यू।
थैंक यू सो मच। और जो आपने अभी बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट बात कही है कि लड़के भी लड़कियां रोती है और लड़के रोते नहीं, बट एक्चुअली लड़के इसके लिए men are also very constrained. उनको लगता है they also want to cry, but then इतना socially entrenched है कि वो रो ही नहीं पाते। जब उनका सफरिंग नहीं ऐसे दिखाना उनको पड़ता है कि I can never suffer, we are invincible, and that itself is a mental pressure and a mental problem for मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता। वेरी ट्रू। ये मर्द को दर्द नहीं होता is such a wrong and dangerous concept, क्योंकि
that is why the concept of metrosexual man has come in,
just
where a man is a man can cry, and man can
and
be,
which is reality. Yes.
Yeah, that
and
is reality.
we have to, that's why this whole thing of today, I think madam was mentioning about the transgender, the fact that there is not just one gender.
No.
It is a universal group of human beings, humanity. Thank you so much. There's so much to talk, and I'm so worried that I will miss out on some good points from such an eminent group of people that we have out here. I will now call on request Dr. Atrey Datta. Yes, we were just harping on little mental health issues and how important it started with Dr. Shantanu, and Dr. Shantanu has also Dr. Shantani, and Dr. Shantani has also mentioned the importance of monitoring the mental health of people, and most of the time people are not even recognizing the fact that they need some kind of mental attention. So like these kinds of concepts that we have, that that you cannot go to a mental doctor means if you go for some counseling, that means you are mad, or you are some kind, the fact that you can get some kind of relief out of that. I think madam is out here, and she's an eminent psychologist with a she's a PhD applied psychology from Calcutta University and PhD in rehabilitation psychology. She's also an IGNOU academic counselor and an examiner also. She has been associated with IGNOU MAPC program for a number of years now. She is also a part of the clinic Indira Hind Healing Center, and a number of achievements to, I think it will be all uploaded, the bio notes in details. I'm just trying to cut off these bio notes so that we can save some time, but they're all going to be uploaded in the website, and they're all eminent academicians and practitioners out here, and very, very grateful that you are here out here to share your insights. Madam, can you tell us something about the significance of significance of recognizing mental health issues for women, and which is the time that one tries to understand that I need some mental health guidance? When should a person try to reach out to a mental health professional?
So I made many of the female individuals who come to the clinic, and also my students, so there are lots of students I made. So after they are doing, first of all I want to say that the rearing practice from when the child, after the childbirth, the female child, so there is a duty of the parents, it is very crucial. So how the female is being, the female girl is being rearing from the parents. So I have seen that in our family also, when we have two brothers and sisters, the parents always say that the female child should not do this. Your brother can do this up to this, but female should have that limitation. Brother can come at night after 9 p.m, but you cannot, because there is issues of safety. That is from there only the female girl loses their confidence, whether what to do, then which up to what limit we shall go, and and for how far we can go and how far we do not go. So that is related to some mental confusion, and that I would like to say that education is also a part of this, because when we are going to learn something, so the reading practice is first one, then the educational, then comes the, if we go far with our education, then the we cravings for our job. So now a female person, female, we are also doing our, you have told earlier that they are going to their self-employed, they are doing their Facebook, we say that their ornaments shop, they are doing the dress, everything. And those who are also, okay, those who are going to in means they're self-employed, so they are economically becomes economically independent. And as soon as the female person becomes educational economically independent, they are gaining self confidence, and they, and that starts from the comparing with the male and the female. And when this, and after the marriage of the female, when they go to in-laws family, then the ego clash started. We are asking me that when the female starts to think that when they go to a counselor for the counseling, when they getting some maladjustment, and various cases coming from after marriage, they are thinking that we are not, because in laws they are prohibiting that you cannot do the job, you have to why you are spending so long time in work from home, you have to devote yourself in the household activities. So at that time they are facing some ego problem, they are facing some anxiety, stress over and they have no one to express their thoughts. And thus they, and at that moment they when are realizing that I'm not there is no one to feel our thought and our mental agony and anxiety. And that moment they are coming to the counselor and for to us psychologists to reveal their problem. And one part of the psychologist, I think that should be a good listener first. That is lacking in our society now. There nobody has many time to listen, because all of us nowadays become so engaged in this gadget, electronics gadgets, that is mobile. Everyone else, I'm saying that in our family also, if I have some mental agony, I want to express my thoughts to anybody, but there is no time to listen, because there are very list of good listener now. And they when and it is also been seen that when we are telling our mental stress and our depression, they whom I am saying, they are relating their problem to me, they are not giving any solution, and sympathetically they view us. And we do not want that, we want that empathetically, that psychologists do. I have to put myself in that place. Until and unless I put myself in that place, I cannot understand his or her problem anyway. So either two of the husband and wife also come, then they complain about that, no, my wife is not spending much time in the kitchen as well as when. And that is because in my personal experience is that if I go home, I have to think beside my mind when I'm working at my clinic or in college, what is going to be after when I go to my home, what shall I been cooking, and etc etc. That is a very important part at that time when I reach my home. And until and in my workplace, if I now I am telling you now in this point, if a call comes, my body expression will show that I'm becoming irritated, because I'm not fond of hearing all that thing, because at this moment my priority is what I'm saying in front of one, that is my priority job. But and at the moment, right moment, I will outside the Bikash Bhavan. Then beside my mind, what shall I do after going to my house? If I have kids, then what to? And recently, yesterday, I am also sharing this with Mandira ma'am. So I am standing in a shop, and a female wife and household came, and she also standing beside me. So I felt that she is being irritated through the phone, because she was telling that no, I have to reach my family 7 o'clock, then I have to pick up my son and my daughter. But unless she is being means I provoked by her, I hope so, for my husband that what shall you do? Please book a Uber for me and all that. So these hazards come. But I think that beside all that, we should go for a very good mental health scheme. So there are some points I shared some time within us. Means I have to share my time, my own, because with the meditation, with relaxation therapy, there is, if you go to the net, you can see that there is, we suggest this relaxation therapy, Jacobson muscle progressive relaxation therapy. It is a therapy. It cools down all the muscles of the body and also the mental. And why should we not spoke out? We have to select a person to express our thought, who can empathetically feel ourselves. But no, you have the problem. If I were there, I should have solved like this. So not only husband, not any friend whom I can share my, and also, and a good thing is self journaling. That is a way to enrich our empowerment. That is why we not evaluate ourselves. We should evaluate ourselves, because we keep a diary, and if we every evaluate who am I, what I have done full day, and what is the value of our, if we evaluate ourselves, then we can compare with me and with other sex, I mean, opposite sex also. So one thing I can say that enriching empowerment, women empowerment, is based on the very nourished and good mental health, which we can get from our family members, from our partners maybe, and from our children also if we have kids. So one experience I want to share, only one experience, only one day, because I felt that no, I'm being a woman. On that time I was not a woman in a college life, but at that time my father was very much ill, so he was to given blood at that time. So I and my uncle had went there, so and screening test has been done, and the doctor said that no, you can give the blood. So at that moment I given the blood for my father, and that evening when I went to visit my father, and the blood is going on in this given the blood, and one my uncle who stays abroad, so he came and says that who, you know, my family members, he is saying that, you know, who has given blood, she my nickname, and she is given. So at that right moment I am feeling now that at that moment I felt no, I am not, means I am very equivalent, that I am very much happy. I can be equally important to my father, and I am safe. And I feel that very much proud indeed. And after, my father is not more in anymore, but I feel that no, one day only, one moment, I felt that that is important. Yes, this is equal. That's when I cross the road every day. Seldom one asks that তোমরা কজন বোন ভাই, তো when যখন আমরা বলি যে না আমরা তো দুই বোন, ভাই নেই, that question comes every time, ভাই নেই, তো what shall ভাই do, means what shall I do, আমি তো নিজেই করছি, হ্যাঁ, everything. So তোমার কি ভাই নেই? এবং এটাও দেখা যায় যে when go for the delivery, so we all, even our family, even another family, they wait for a baby boy rather than a baby girl. ছেলে হয়েছে, that is আর কি. Yes, and it will not end, but we should empower ourselves and enrich ourselves through a very nourished mental health. Okay, and that is, and only one thing I want to end with the one quotation, that strong women, that is we are indeed strong women don't wait for door to open, and they build their own. It is.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Yes, ma'am. Very
very
correct.
much.
Very correct. একদম ইকুয়ালিটিটা আপনি ধরিয়ে দিলেন at a very basic level, which is so correct. Science, this is something. একবার আমার একজন জুলজিস্টের সাথে কথা হয়েছিল, because I was trying to make a gender program on so I wanted a scientist, because আমাদের what happens most of the time when you say something that we are all equal, men and women are equal. Now let us have a scientific validation that biologically, physiologically, whether you are
Because
equal
physical
or
getup
not,
is
yes,
different.
whether it's
because-
at the
yes.
cellular level we are the same or not. And for that I will again come to the nuclear medicine person after a little while, but for that we'll talk about that. Is interesting, but a little more intervention by my colleague here once again, Dr. Shantanu Mukherjee. I'll invite you to be here. He's an eminent academician himself and an expert in his expertise is in the area of agriculture. He has done his PhD in agriculture from University of Calcutta with 24 years of combined administrative and academic expertise. He is right now posted in Kolkata Regional Center. Dr. Mukherjee, Assistant Regional Director, he was posted in Agartala Regional Center also, where he contributed significantly to advancing open and distance learning. He served in diverse capacities before IGNOU across prestigious institutions, including the High Court of Calcutta and West Bengal Civil Service and the Lok Sabha Secretariat, showcasing his versatility in legal, governmental, and parliamentary domains. Dr. Mukherjee has championed a number of innovative measures in administrative processes. Currently, his role in Kolkata Regional Center is also very, very innovative, and he's looking after one of our cutting-edge programs of IGNOU called E-Vidya Bharati, where we are imparting free education to the needy learners of Africa. So he's monitoring that program here. Thank you very much for joining us here, and I know it has been a long wait, but your intervention is very important here too.
Thank you, madam. Today's topic on the postcard is empowerment of women through education, which we all know is not only for the women. It's all education is emancipation for all the living human beings around the world. And as a educator in the university, we are doing exactly the same thing. We are trying to impart education, higher education per se, to the masses. But I have a mixed feeling regarding this education and emancipation or empowerment of a particular strata of the society, because I worked as an administrator, or I'll rather say as a bureaucrat in a ITDP village in Malda district, West Bengal. I have a very strange experience there. ITDP means it's a tribal development project village. There, most of the population were from Santhal, and I had a very peculiar experience there, because I could see the literacy rate or the education per se is not among the persons there among the Santhals, but their society is very progressive as far as the woman empowerment is concerned. Their society is for women is very open, flexible as far as the marriage is concerned. They can choose their partners, and that is very much allowed in their society. They have a ghotul, persons who are backing for the sociology or some background, they will be knowing what is ghotul is all about. So they have the pre-marriage nuptials rituals which they can perform, from the ages, like we can see these years the love marriages have been happening in our society quite frequently among themselves. For their ages, this practice is there, and of course they have a free mixing between the women and the men from their age of the puberty itself, so they can choose their life partner from the folks or from the outside their folks as well. And most interestingly, the women after the marriage, they don't have to change their surname also. They are keeping their surname, their parental surname with them. So it's a very sort of a perplexing thing for me, because I have gone through a sort of a social norms, and while I was working, so I encountered this is a paradigm thing that I have been taught in my schools, colleges, and universities, the social norms I followed. And then, of course, this thing does not actually dilute the importance of education in life, because there is also some things like witch hunting among the Santhals and all these things. I believe that probably this education probably may, I don't know whether it will really eradicate that witch hunting and all these obnoxious practices among their society. But of course, these are the two parts of the same coin, I can say, which is showing one type the progressive society and other side also as a retrogressive one. Of course, I would like to share, of course, what is the importance of education in a man's or a woman life. In my own experience, my grandmother, uh, one of the most feisty ladies I have seen in my life, she is no more, but she hailed from Chattogram, from Bangladesh. And she was, when she was studying, maybe in class 2 or 3, at that time that Chattogram, that uprising was going on, Armory raid, and you heard about that. Surya Sen was at the forefront, and she belongs to the same para or same mohalla of the Surya Sen. So what she used to do as a very young lady at that time, she used to carry the food and the water for all these rebels. She also used to go to the hideout, actually escaping the gauge of the police and other military forces were there at the time of British, and she used to deliver the food and the other necessary things to Surya Sen and his associates at that time. So that tells about the feisty lady she was, and but the unfortunate thing is what that she has to be married at the age of 11 years at the time, so she couldn't complete her education. And of course, once this responsibility fall upon our soldiers, so the education has taken a backstage and she couldn't do much. But what she could do was, of course, make all her children, including my mother, who later became a professor in a college, so could make them really the importance of education. But what I realized from her life, of course, if she had been educated, what she has endured in her life, because she has lost her husband in a very young age, then she has a great struggle to bring her children up, all these things. She has to depend upon others. She doesn't have that economic uh, things to bring her all children to the thing this she wanted to. So education in a sense is of course an empowerment, but of course there is also some societal things which is pushing this the benevolency or the things of education that brings to a person's lives to some extent. So I believe that when I was working in Raghunathganj as on in there, I could see the education how it is bringing change to the human life, especially the Muslim women there. They have been forefront in bringing the higher education up in the Murshidabad districts. Murshidabad and Malda, these are the two districts you must be knowing, which has which are very backward districts as far as this education is concerned. But amazingly, these women ladies are bringing the map or the education map of these two districts up by their constant involvement in teaching and learning process. they have been forefront, because you must be knowing that the males are going for work outside. So the GR ratio, as the madam was talking about, has been going down there. But if you see the GPI ratio, that is the gender parity index, in these two districts are going up, and it is more than the average of the state. And in sometimes, even the if you take the examples of the most developed states like Kerala, or maybe in Karnataka or Tamil Nadu, this GPI is lesser than the this Murshidabad districts. You will be amazed to know that. So these are the things which need to be researched upon, and it has to be brought into forefront. You'll be amazed to know the GR ratio of the West Bengal is one of the worst among the most other states. But as far as the GPI ratio is concerned, West Bengal is doing far better than the GR ratios. So these are the few points which, as an educators, is a very encouraging to us. And I must say that the scenario is changing from my grandmother's time. It has changed a lot. It has gone for the better. Now 48% of women are contributing to the GR ratios, and GPI's ratios are increasing. Only the area of concern is the STEM education, that is science, technology, engineering, and medicine. Still, the women are far less represented than the male counterpart, which is government has to take note of. Government has taken some of the steps, which you must be knowing from 2005 onwards. Government has started a gender budget, and it has also contributing a special budget for the women education, especially in the higher education. They have launched one program called Udan, which is also actually taking care of the women empowerment through higher education, which is a very interesting thing. And of course, a few measures which are effective, maybe the more and more hostels to be built up in the colleges and the universities, to allow the women students to stay in the hostel and pursue their education. And more women teachers are to be included in the colleges and universities, which will encourage women students to come and take admission in the various programs being offered. So these are the few steps. In the university our university is also taking up some of the gender sensitized courses which is being offered. And of course, we are doing a lot of research also regarding the genders equality, and we have sent, you will be happy to know that we have also started some of the programs in SOSS, that is SOVET, and some of the other schools, which are very gender specific programs. So hopefully that will be able to, in another maybe 15-20 years, we will be able to see that the gender parity in terms of in the higher educations will be coming, and that will percolate down to the tertiary educations and the primary education. Thank you.
Two very important points here, which is also part one, is the indigenous knowledge system. Indigenous knowledge system, and not just for the Santals, but it is also seen in Northeast India. And there was the same kind of, but there is a catch in this also, because in Northeast India it apparently seems that women are dominating and the matriarch, but actually what happens is they are burdened with more additional burden. So the freedom gives at least at a point now, of course I'm not making a stereotype because I don't want to make any official statement here.
At least they are getting the ancestral property there.
But the mother's brother is the custodian, don't forget. So that is, you cannot really, it seems like it is being inherited by the youngest daughter,
not
but
that easy.
actually
It's not
it
that
is,
easy.
so there are all these nuances which most sometimes what happens, we take these understandings are kind of, there has a lot of layers, because Northeast women, the indigenous women, are now fighting for their own rights against the men.
Yeah.
Because in spite of the fact that there was so much of independence and so much of rights being given to them, if you go to the local governance, women have no right to vote. Local governance, they have the local governments and the tribal government, not the Panchayat Raj, which has given them democratic rights. But if you go to a Dimasa community and the Dimasa governance, then the women have no say. If you go to the Jaintia and the Khasi, and they have something called the Darbar Shnong, the Darbars, where everybody sit together, they govern, and it is the sacrosanct. In that, no women have a right to say anything. So you can imagine how society has built these structures, and which seem apparently a thing. And the second one, you brought out something very significant, the Chattogram Armory. Yes, and actually the Chattogram Armory raid and Shurjo Sen's leadership proved it was the first women's struggle, armed struggle in India, in Indian freedom struggle. If the Kalpana Datta and
Priti Lata
Pritilata
was
they were the first one to take up arms. They actually took up arms. So in the history of,
she was the first martyr.
Yes,
woman
That was the
martyr.
first
so
organized.
organized women struggle through arms. So
We had
this is a
dinner
very
later.
interesting. Yes, this is very interesting point you brought up to actually mention this today. I think it was very, very interesting to think. Anyway, now I think we are all rushed for time, and we have two very important interventions here, and we have out here with us again a very young and energetic commandant, lieutenant commandant. Do pardon my
Lieutenant Colonel.
Lieutenant Colonel, yes, Asima out here, and Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Asima from Command Hospital. We are so happy to have her here. She's an expert. Her designation is a nuclear medicine specialist, Indian Armed Force. And madam, it is so nice and very, very enriching for us to have you here, and also for our learners and IGNU as a whole, that you are here. She has finished her MBBS from Kaminani Institute of Medical Sciences, Hyderabad, and she has done a postgraduate certificate course in nutrition, National Institute of Nutrition. She's a diplomat in National Board Postgraduation Medical Education in Nuclear Medicine, Army Hospital. She was commissioned in the Armed Forces Medical Services of Indian Army in 2012, providing medical facilities to serving soldiers and their dependent families. Worked in forward field areas, providing health cover to troops, air evacuation of casualties during a counter-insurgency operations. Presently, she's working as a nuclear medicine specialist in Command Hospital, Eastern Command at Kolkata. Nuclear medicine is a medical field that uses radioactive materials to diagnose and treat diseases. She worked as part of NGO in managing economic and educational need of women, target intervention, and NECO projects. So we can see this absolutely multifaceted and extremely decorated, duties and responsibilities that you have fulfilled for Government of India. We are indeed very, very, happy that you are here. So my question could be a number of things that I would like to ask you right now, but my question one, or your intervention that I seek, is in the area of first telling us, from the perspective of medicine, is there any kind of gender discrimination that you view in any field that you have, that say, you understand what my question is, right? So for any kind of medical intervention, do we make any kind of gender, is there any kind of gender intervention from the perspective of actual biological, physiological, from that perspective? And secondly, as an armed forces lady, what would be your guidance to women regarding security and safety, and how can they protect themselves, given that there are so many cases of
all kinds of activities that are coming up, now. Few of them come up, as one of my colleagues have mentioned, but some of them we don't come to know. It happens within the four walls. It happens, among known people. Rakshak hi bhakshak hai is such an important uh, idea nowadays, right? So, madam, can you just yes.
Yeah. At the very outset, I would first like to thank you, Dr. Sujata ma'am, because this is a very nice opportunity for me actually. So I hardly get to interact with most of the professors and teachers who are so good. And for me, ma'am, it is a blessing, I can say, of my parents and especially teachers like you who have, because of the position which I am here today, ma'am. As far as the gender जो आप बोल रहे हो मैम, truly speaking, in armed forces, ma'am, when I had gone for the counseling of my own seat, ma'am, because nuclear medicine is a very advanced field, ma'am. It is a field where we are injecting radioactive traces into the patient human body, and then we keep scanning them. So this has a lot of exposure, radiation exposure, so which is harmful to human body also. So when I had gone for counseling, ma'am, like my senior officers and even the general rank officers, they told me, how capable are you to take this, because it's it's a type of field which can cause harm to your body, and it's a very advanced field, ma'am, because we do all type of scans like cardiac scans, oncological scans. It is some of the elements which we studied in our periodic table. We inject it into the human body and then we scan it, trace its physiology, and we do therapeutic also. Like we have a medical oncologist team, surgical oncologist team, we have cancer patients, multiple. So I being at the time of counseling, I was confident enough. I told sir, it is, you should go by marks, because academically I had topped in my this one. So after facing all that, they told me yes, since academically you have scored good marks.
Are you exposed to radioactive?
Yes, we are exposed. Yes, ma'am. So, but we have trained. We received training like how to keep ourselves protected also from that one. So I told yes, it's my field of interest. It's something different which usually people don't do. It has a bit of research in it, a clinical application, a bit of patient interaction, touch. Everything is there. So finally, I came to this field, ma'am, and it's a blessing, I can say, and to be in armed forces, because in armed forces, ma'am, it has trained me not only to be physically fit but to be mentally fit, ma'am. We are so trained mentally that any ups and downs, we are in a position to, okay, this will happen, we'll take it how it comes. So like initially, if we are at some peace location, not necessarily we get such postings like Kolkata or a good location of Delhi, ma'am. Sometimes, as ma'am rightly told, ma'am has already served, ma'am, we are deployed in forward areas. So there are a lot of casualties keep coming. So we have to be mentally so tough that, I have to be prepared myself that, okay, this condition I'll face it. So once it so happened, ma'am, we had the casualties. There were some convoy military truck was going on, then what that firing was going on, that one. So we had some 10 people, ma'am, out of 5 were declared dead when they were brought to me, and 5 were still alive. So it is now my capability, ma'am, that I have to keep my mental piece of balance and try to evacuate by helicopter evacuation of those 5 people, ma'am. So it requires lot of strength, physically and mentally. And physical fitness, yes, ma'am, it is very important, especially in today's life, ma'am. Ma'am, as a part of armed forces, we are trained to run 5 kilometers per day, ma'am.
Your mental balance is,
Yes.
it is part of the training.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because initially, when I had gone to the first time for the training at Lucknow, ma'am, where we do that medical officers basic training course, OTS, ma'am. So I thought, okay, just doctors having done MBBS, MD will be able to just see patients and a bit of army training, but that was not the case. The first day of my training, I was asked to do running, then armed force firing, rifle firing, everything. So they have trained us in such a way that we are able to take care of any situation, ma'am. That's a plus point. So physical fitness, yes, it is important, ma'am. I can only say that we should have a balance, ma'am. Physical fitness, mental fitness, and as Atre ma'am rightly told, psychological. That is also too important, because my field involves, ma'am, dealing with a lot of patients who are oncologically cancer patients, ma'am. So dealing with them, I have to keep myself so strong that I'm able to counsel them a bit, ma'am. So physical fitness wise, yes, still now also, ma'am, 5 kilometer run per day.
All the talents that you have can be transported into
Yes.
a common
Yes.
lady,
Yes.
common woman.
Yes, ma'am.
What are the ways that a common woman
Ma'am, first of all, ma'am, we should be target oriented, ma'am, because nowadays everyone is so much into, ma'am, that IT and mobile and everything. Now, ma'am, I feel people are more focused on others' life, what is going on in others' life. But what I feel, ma'am, we should be self-centered. We should be focused. Okay, this is my target. This is my goal. Rest things I'll manage somehow. So that should be there.
Like a real army woman.
Ma'am.
How can you be on the battlefield and not be focused?
Yes,
Is
ma'am.
that possible?
Yes, ma'am. So we have to be focused, and all I can say is that we should not get perturbed or influenced by what others are saying. If it is something wrong, yes, we should admit, yes, that a part of mistake was done on my part. Otherwise, it's okay. But that balance of physical fitness, mental fitness, and spirituality, that is the ultimate. This one, ma'am. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Very, very important part of
Yes, ma'am.
life.
And as think education is the very important, it's the almost the backbone of everything. Not only for the critical analysis of any situation, like how we are going to cope up with that situation, but also as a part of education being self-dependent, ma'am. Like nowadays, having that economical independence, that is very, very required. Yes, self-sufficient is important, ma'am.
Thank you so much. It is indeed, again, as I said, our learners will be seeing you and, having their own universe extended so that they know exactly how much. And that is part of one of the objectives of this podcast is how we can widen the universe of our students, not to just think, in the box through the study materials that they get and quickly finish their assignments, but because in IGNOU it is possible never to look outside, just to finish your program within it and come out of it.
Yes.
Isn't it, madam?
Yes.
You just get your SLM. If you're a
Yes,
very
as soon as they
structured,
finish
if you're
everything.
yes, you just get your SLM, you do your thing, you
Yes.
just independently, you
Sure,
don't go for
yes,
any
yes.
counseling, you do everything yourself, you come out of it. If you are structured and if you are independent and responsible, you can do that. But what is important is that they should also have a vision. They should have a universal vision and where the world is going. And thank you so much for being that, Ranon. Now we come to one, the last very significant intervention from Mr. Sandeep Aklawat, but not at all the least, because he's the youngest in our team out here, and we look at Sandeep ji, in a very, very promising terms. And Sandeep ji has been here with us for with the Kolkata Regional Center as the registrar, and he is an alumni of DU. He has completed his business economics and PG diploma in international marketing. He has served in various departments such as the I'm sorry, I have just in the Ministry of Agriculture before joining IGNOU as the assistant registrar. He has also been in the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence before he was here, and he's currently looking after one of the most important foundation of Kolkata Regional Center as the analyst of our financial analyst, as we should say, money matters, which becomes most important planning for our center. So we are very happy that he's joined us as a young person himself and also as a young professional. His views on what he feels about International Women's Day and this program as a whole. Sandeep ji, can we have your...
Sure, ma'am. Thank you. It's indeed been an honor to speak on such a decorated panel. So before coming to the specific, I would like to make a general observation. So when we talk of humanity, we are a very social species. So how we have thrived, how we have come to this point is by cooperating. So when we talk of the past era, they may have been about brute force. When we talk of this current era or the era to come, it's all about technology, where there is no need of brute force. And when we talk about brains of males or females, there is no distinction as such. So they are equal. So in this era to come, there is we do not need this societal distinction or this inequality, because women can equally participate in technology. They can be whatever they want to be. So we are not having this low-lying fruit that we have achieved this, we have come this far, the whole humanity has come this far through the achievement of mostly men. Why are not we involving the other 50%? So the humanity as a whole is at a loss when we are not involving or when we are not empowering the women. And if we talk about the specifics, so the role of family becomes very important here, because this is the nursery where the girl child are nurtured, where they are given values, where they are given the way how they are thinking, how they are talking, how they are behaving. So family becomes the first nursery. We should have this mindset or this value system in our families and current families, where we do not have any distinction or any differentiation between the male child and the female child. They both should be given equal opportunities. And through education, I want to incorporate the analytical skills that women should have. They should be thinking for themselves. They should know the pros and cons of everything. They should analyze or introspect, and they should be able to make the choices they want to make. It's not about just the bookish empowerment. It's all about having those choices and having the courage or the ability to exercise those choices. With those words, I would like to conclude. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You brought out a very important point of the significance of family. I mean, of course, we've extended our time, and I would just like to say out here. I think you wanted to put in a yes.
I thought we had left out a very important point. Though we are a changing society, looking forward to that and enjoying that right now. I'd like to incorporate one point that there are existing certain laws regarding violences against women and incidents like rape, molestation, or which keep happening parallelly and which we got to encounter professionally at times. I think there should be, I'd suggest to Sujata, there should be a specific way we could enlighten our students everywhere, our children everywhere, about what to do, where to go, and where to lodge a complaint and how to do it. Regarding the Visakha law, regarding POXO, and regarding in a case of rape or molestation, because I have again and again found even so-called educated people, they are just at a loss where to and how to when it happens and to whom to go to. They land up with the police. I'm sorry to say, very often the police is also not very aware of their role, and at times they get, there are things they get they stick to which delay the process, and in the bargain they don't get the assistance from the law as it should be.
Are you saying that in a formal platform, in an education system, we should have some kind of a formal training where everybody is aware of these kind of practical
genders,
information?
They should be given from the crux, they should be taught about these things practically, as to where, at times the child, it can happen to a boy or a girl, and the child does not have any kind of family support maybe, but the individual is enough to go and access the medical attention primarily and what they're entitled. I've seen many people, they don't even know that if they did not go through the police to with a complaint of rape or molestation, they wait for the police to accompany. They don't just straight budge into a hospital, and there are things, small little things, like a doctor on duty can never refuse a victim to be examined and the process to be started. That is legally punishable when the responsibility is fixed on the doctor. And there are things like that in cases POXO and everything, which incidentally by virtue of my post I got to look after these things also along with.
Very important.
So I suddenly thought that we should
yes, absolutely. I think you've given a very, very practical guidance.
We have been doing a certificate program on human trafficking. We have been doing a program on cyber law. So that is a very welcome thing that we have suggested for including all these laws like POXO and of course the women gender related laws and all these things. That is
people at times they know theoretically, but they really, when it comes to it, they don't know to whom to go and what they're entitled. But they should know
how they're getting the release.
Part of that, this whole episode that happened in Bengal was part of that, I think. I mean,
to some extent. Because
maybe
we keep encountering this again and again.
Even the parents didn't know where they needed to go.
No,
so
they don't know.
Had they known, maybe things would have been a little different. They didn't know, they were unaware of where they should be going.
Like I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it is
Yes.
extending. I know that just day before yesterday in Salt Lake Hospital, Salt Lake Government Hospital, a 12-year-old mother, a girl. Now we are having very high teenage pregnancy everywhere. West Bengal is topping incident. So, a 12-year-old mother, she was brought and she was picked up by the ASHA workers, and she had been motivated to come to the hospital. She delivered and she fled, leaving the child. Okay, she delivered and she fled.
12-year-old,
Yeah,
what
yeah,
else can you
mother.
expect?
Mother is
What can
12-year-old. Can you? I mean, no wonder we have so high maternal deaths everywhere. It is one of the cases, you know. And I have encountered, as a superintendent during my career in this profession, I have encountered a girl. There's a last example I'd give that the society is changing. I have encountered in the early days when I joined this particular health service. There was a woman about whom she was actually, it was a case of homicide. She was about to be burnt in her own parents' home when husband and wife visited the home, and they had some kind of an altercation. In her father's place, she was put on fire, and finally we couldn't save her. She was more than 80% burned when she was brought, and finally the young OC took up the case. He wanted my assistance, as I was a BMOH at that time. So legally postmortem was done. It was in her support, but we could not proceed with the case. I'm just giving an example of a society. You know why? The own father of that girl, he gave a testimony saying it was an accident. Why? Because he had another 2 girls waiting to get married, and he got the younger one married to that very man.
Oh my God.
That very husband. This is one thing, but quite later in my life as a superintendent, I found a woman coming alone to lodge a complaint of rape by her husband. Alone. She was a Muslim woman. She just budged into my chamber. She said, I need to be examined. The doctor out there is not examining me. So I ensured she was examined. And later on she told me that her husband has been regularly raping her. And just because she had some property back home, her parents expired, and he wanted her to write the property in his name. And he had been pushing bottles and papers into her vagina to torture her. And she came bleeding, and she came only all alone. Nobody sided her. Nobody from her family sided her. She went to the police. She was hooted away. She came to the hospital. And we got her examined, and we started the case. So I was really perplexed. I saluted her. I said, nothing doing. I mean, there is some kind of a change somewhere, definitely. She was a rural woman.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We just have this much, and of course brings me again back to one question which I always think. I think we are all bringing up our daughters very well. I can say that because I'm a mother of a daughter. So I mean, we try to bring daughters independent and ambitious and thing, but I don't know if we are bringing up our sons well or not. So it's an appeal to most mothers because there is a bigger role to bring up a son well. You know how to.
If you are bringing your daughter well, sons will be automatically followed.
But no, that is no, that doesn't.
That
I
is
think
not the way.
we all understand that.
The daughter's son, next generation.
Next generation, yes, maybe, yes, but this generation will suffer. The daughter will not be allowed to make a
there's a
empowered
joke going on. Tell your daughter to dress well. They say, tell your son
first
to learn not to comment on the dresses of women.
You know, it's actually very few mothers. Somehow we get into that trap of okay, fine. It happens even in educated community. So I think an appeal is that bring up daughters well and also bring up sons well, because sons will also have to be brought up very well. The responsibility is double on mothers, because for generations they have not been brought up well. So that's why. Thank you so much, and